YB stays on your neck.
Yo, my dance, make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and obviously hit the bell for notifications. So, as you've all probably heard by now, Fury has now reacted to his son's performance against Otto Wallin. And I've got to say, fair play to John Fury. John Fury's done what Peter Fury. Well, actually, don't tell a lie. I was about to slag Peter Fury off, but to be fair, Peter Fury in the last performance of Huey versus Povetkin actually was pretty fair, so I won't say that. But John Fury, to his credit, has actually come out for the first time and called a spade a spade. Because in the last few fights, I've actually been going against John Fury, saying that, oh, John Fury is completely gassed, because let's get it right. In that Schwartz performance, John Fury was talking about, oh, that's the best performance ever in history, and how Schwartz would have given anyone trouble tonight, all this sort of business. But fair play to John Fury. And just quickly, let me get my own props in here. People who sit there and say, oh, you never say anything good, I'm giving. When people earn props, they get props. John Fury, props. Peter Fury for that last fight with Fury versus Povetkin, props. Yeah? Simple. Anyway, let's get to the particulars of what he said. I'll read it out. It's quite long, so bear with me, and I'll give my reaction to it. He says, I've never seen him this bad. He looked weight drained. He looked like he'd left it all in the gym, to be honest with you. From the second round on, there was no snap, there was no real movement, and there was no real thought going into his work. It was just a laboured performance, and then the good happened. He's a lucky man to get the win, to be honest. Very lucky indeed. With a cut as bad as that, what was it, the third round? I don't know how we got to the 12th. I just think he's very lucky chap to emerge the winner. But that's not Tyson in there, I know that. Whatever's gone wrong in that camp, which it has gone wrong, someone's to blame, and he to me looked like he didn't have any strength from the off. His timing was off, his distance was terrible, he didn't look for the body. He never threw a meaningful shot, really. Sorry, he never threw a meaningful shot, really, and the only ones thrown were like laboured off flat feet, hoping to connect and get him out of there. Whether Wallin is a lot better than I can see on the television, but to me, he was no better than his last opponent, Tom Schwartz, to be honest with you. Because he never had the skill to capitalise on it. If he had been in front of any other man tonight, either Wilder, Ruiz, any of the top three, he wouldn't have been coming away the winner. Even Povetkin, he wouldn't have beat Povetkin on that performance tonight. I'm being honest about it. He's my son. I'm a straight talker. That's the worst I've seen my son. Oh, yes, but what can I say? I'm very proud that he got... I can't do it. I'm very proud of the way he mauled his way through it. He showed world-class heart, and he'll come again. He needs to go back to the drawing board and see what's gone wrong here. And to be honest, look in the mirror and say, things ain't gone right. He needs to look at where he's gone wrong. I have half an idea, but that's for my own. When asked to elaborate, John continued, there's not much I can share, to be honest, but for a man to be in that condition after an 8-week camp, looked like he had no breath left after 2 rounds. What's happening? He's emphasised more on losing weight than his power and strength. He's gone down to 254 pounds, and his strength and power's gone with it. Everything went tonight. That wasn't Tyson. He was as weak as a kitten from the first round. I've warned him about this. He's not an 18-stone fighter anymore. He's 31 years old. He's matured. His body's grown. Accept your 19 stone. You're never going to be body beautiful. That's what he's emphasised on, looking good, rather than the actual fight himself. They never listen to you. The dads never know nothing. Everybody else is always right, and I'm wrong, but I've seen this coming. If I had my say, the lot would be gone. Looking at that in there, if he keeps hold of that team, they're going to cost him his career. I'll say it live on TV. The team, being what's around him now, Ben Davidson, whatever he's got in charge of the business, needs to have a good look in the mirror and say, not good enough at eye level. It's proved it tonight. John concluded by excluding the cut man from his criticism, as he added, I've got to commend him. I think he was the only one worthwhile man in the whole team. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So let me start at the top. This might be quite a long video actually, because I spent damn near 5 minutes reading it out, but let me start from the top of what he said. I've never seen him this bad. Yeah, well, I can't disagree with that. Then he goes on to say he looked weight drain. Now let's discuss the weight. The weight drain, the whole weight drain thing. I've got to be honest. I'm not sure. I personally think I'm not 50% sure or 60% sure that Tyson Fury is suffering with degalitis. I think we've got a case of shot.com here. I really do. But I'll be happy to be proved wrong. So if John Fury thinks it's a weight issue, no problem. He was actually 274, or he was I think he was 270 pounds or above, 275 pounds when he fought Schwartz. So in reality, coming down to be 254 now, that's 20 pounds of weight. That's not good in only how many months? 3 months. That's not good. I've got to agree. That could be a possible reason. However, looking at Fury's composition, it wasn't as if he was 254 and he's completely skin and bone. He's still got a bit of flub on him. So I'm thinking, normally how it works is in fighting, when you get to the real low body fat percentages, that's when you can get overtraining kicking in, or that's when you can get like weight drained. But to go from obese minus 20 pounds, well, not obese, but to go to flabby 270 to a flabby 250, I'm skeptical. But like I said, if unsure, give it a go. Go back to 270 if you think that. And let's get it right. John Fury was gassing up, like I mentioned. John Fury was completely gassed off of the Schwartz performance. So if he believes it's a lot to do with the weight, go back up to 270. I'm not sure, because the Schwartz fight only lasted a round or two. I'm pretty sure if Schwartz had had any bottle and pushed Fury 6 rounds, I reckon his wheels would have fell off the same way. I believe he's got degalitis here. His legs ain't right. His legs ain't the same. Next part. And this is, funnily enough, I hadn't actually read this when I mentioned it, but in my first video I put out today, which was basically my reaction video to this fight, I said myself, everyone giving Otto Wallin credit, I'm sorry, I can't give Wallin credit for this. Well, I give him credit for giving it a good go, but Wallin should have won that fight. And John Fury says here, with a cut as bad as that, what was it, the 3rd round, I don't know how he got to the 12th. And that's the bottom line. I don't know how Fury got to 12th either. I tell you how he did. Schwartz didn't want it enough. He didn't do a good enough job. He didn't outperform himself. All that Wallin did well is he turned up and put his heart in. But he didn't. I don't know what it is about. Maybe his conditioning wasn't there. All I know is he didn't outperform himself. He went in there and give it a good go. He didn't outperforming himself tonight. Would have been getting the job done, because the job was there to be had. Let's be right with it. The job was there to be had, but he didn't risk it enough. What I'm trying to say is this is the best way to put it, I think. And Wallin wasn't prepared to risk himself for the win. Meaning, if Wallin had gone in there them last few rounds, or the last 6 rounds, or however long, he had to cut for 9 rounds, by the way. If Wallin had gone in there, yeah, chin down, winging, whatever, I can't remember what side Fury's cut was on, but basically, if Wallin had gone in there, completely winging shots, going for the cut, winging shots, by all means, does that make sense? Throwing combinations, body, head, constantly going for the cut, and then didn't win, I'd say fine, but he didn't do that. Wallin was way too reserved, and like as I mentioned in that video, he tried to, like, at one point, which is another thing that made me lose respect for Wallin, he tried to smudge Fury in the face and tried to open the cut up after the round. That pissed me off, because I thought, you know what, you could be doing more work in the ring, in the actual 3-minute round, but instead you want to try and cheat. That's out of order. Earn it in the ring. Earn it by throwing combinations. Earn it by hitting him in the face. It's not as if it was a small cut. Oh, well, he couldn't really target it. It was massive. But once again, for me, he didn't do enough. Wallin didn't do enough. But anyway, back to Fury. John Fury talks about, Fury's timing was off, his distance was terrible. This whole business of timing and distance, I don't know what that means, to be honest. Call me a casual, but I think it's a bit cliche when people talk about timing and distance. But yeah, I don't know about that. But anyway, leave that. He never threw a meaningful shot, and the only ones. So he says, yeah. So basically, Fury didn't throw a meaningful shot, didn't sit down. Well, this isn't, unfortunately, John. When Fury fought Schwartz, you were sitting there praising him about his power and about how no one could live with that power, and how Fury hasn't changed. The fact that you sit here and say, oh, Tyson didn't throw a meaningful shot. He doesn't throw meaningful shots at the best of times, or ever in his. I've never seen Fury actually turn a shot over. I've never seen him really dig a shot. It's all arm punches, all fast rabbit punches, and that's his technique. That's his trainer's job. I'm sorry, and that's your job, really. To be honest, rather than gassing him about his Schwartz performance, technically speaking, Fury has a lot of holes. And for me, that's what makes me laugh. People say I don't know boxing, that's fine. But for me, the way I train is I base everything off of Mike Tyson. In as much as, not everything, but when it comes to punch leverage, that's how you should punch. Bottom line is, whether you're long, Tyson doesn't have a copyright stamp on how to throw shots. Mike Tyson throws shots how they should be thrown. He digs his hooks, elbows, all elbows, short, sharp elbows being digged in. You don't see Fury throws his hooks, and you'll see his elbow pointing towards the floor. In reality, when you throw a hook, you want your elbow to be horizontal. Whereas Fury's slapping, it's all arms. He's not digging. When you throw a hook, you almost want to dig your elbow into someone. It's almost like the best hookers. And Mike Tyson people criticised him, saying, "Oh, he throws elbows," but that's how it should look. When you throw correct hooks, it should look like you're trying to throw an elbow at someone. That's how it should look. Fury he just slaps, all hands. All you see when Fury throws a hook, all you see is his hands slapping. But that's like I say, what do I know? I'm a casual. I'm sure all these trainers know what they're doing. But unfortunately, I don't believe that's to do with this particular performance, the way Fury's punching. That's to do with his technical flaws, but he's had them from the start. God knows all these high-level trainings, what they've been doing with him, I don't know. Anyway, John Fury says, even Povetkin would have beat him tonight, and I agree 100%. Never mind the top three, I think anyone half sharp in there tonight. Pulev, anyone, top 10. And like I say, even Schwartz. Oh, sorry, not Schwartz, even Wallin. Wallin will kick himself, I think, in a few years or whenever. He'll look back on tonight and think, you know what, that should have been mine tonight, really. If I'd have had a bit more conditioning, a bit more... He should have... Wallin should have said, you know what, after about 5 rounds or 6 rounds, he should have said, you know what, tonight, I'm either leaving the ring on my back or Fury is. And for me, yes, he had heart to an extent, but he didn't have that attitude. He didn't have a Buster Douglas attitude, where he said, you know what, I've been put down, or whatever. Schwartz didn't get put down, as an example. Schwartz didn't have that attitude of, you know what, I'd rather go in here, throw so many shots to get clipped myself, than go in there and play it safe. Wallin played it safe to an extent. He was always safety first, where when you got a guy with a huge gash, there's no time to be doing safety first, especially when you're on the B-side. I think he could have stopped Fury anyway. But with the cut, it was on a plate. But anyway, that's for him to think about. I just don't want him to get too gassed about how great his performance was, because everyone seemed to be blowing him off. But in reality, it was a poor performance. It was there for the taking. John Fury says here, I'm very proud, it's kind of sarcastically, he says, but what can I say? I'm very proud of the way he mauled his way through it. He showed world-class heart, and he'll come again. And that's kind of a dig saying, he did maul his way through it. But I think what John Fury is trying to say is he doesn't want his fight. He doesn't want his son mauling through fights. And I'm going to do a video on this as well. But I'm going to talk about Paris Fury's reaction. She didn't look happy. And I'm not being funny. This whole Wilder fight, I think, going to be called into question if his family have anything to do with it, and rightly so. All you Fury fans blowing his horn. I just don't believe it's a smart idea. I think Fury's fighting bums for a reason, and if tonight doesn't show you why, then you're going to get him hurt. And I don't no one come crying to me, because YB tried to tell you lot. He don't need nothing to do with AJ, and he don't need nothing to do with Wilder. That's the truth of it. And if you think he does after that performance, people telling me, oh well, Wallin's clearly world class. Okay, then you'll soon find out. If Fury goes in there with Wilder, you'll soon find out what world class is. Trust me, you will. And this time, to be honest, I'm actually hoping that Fury murmurs Asgardian language, Asgardian dialect, because on the flip side of that, he might not be murmuring at all. Seriously, he might not. And people can take it as they want to take it. He might not be murmuring, and that's the more worrying thing. Just look at what Wallin done to him tonight. A man who didn't even really want it half sharp, and who can't punch, and who can't fight on the inside. Let's have a look at what else he says here before I finish the video off. Yeah, so he talks about the weight again. Tyson being as weak as a kitten. Well, like I say, go back up to 175 and see how it works out there. I think Fury being weak has more to do with his technique, his jabs, as I mentioned in my earlier video. His jabs. What's that jab doing? It's like a backhand, no power. You're meant to drive a jab. Once again, it's about your elbow. When you throw a jab, you also almost want to drive your elbow through someone's head. Look at the way Tyson jabs again. Mike Tyson. He drives his elbow. It's almost like you're packing. What's the word? You're packing joints. But anyway, Fury's is never mind what I'm talking about. Fury's is, I don't know what that is. I don't know what it is, man. It's all well and good having a flicky jab. Like at times, Lennox Lewis kind of flicked it, doubled it up and tripled it up. But even then, he was throwing it. He was pushing it properly. Fury just doesn't do anything, man. It just don't make no damage. Don't score no points. And this is what's becoming worrying for Fury now. His jabs deteriorated so much, and he's been allowed to his jab's been allowed to deteriorate so much. It's getting to the point now where, as Wallin's proved, people aren't even scared of it before. Meaning, when Fury fought Vlad, his jab was able to keep Vlad off. But this last fight against Wallin has proven that his jab deteriorated so much. Wallin was happy to come forward the whole night. He wasn't scared of it, and that's what's dangerous for him. And if like I said, if AJ's watch this fight, he should be licking his chops, thinking about the things he will do to Fury on the inside. Let's have a look. You're never gonna. Oh, this is another thing. He talks about how Fury wants to be body beautiful, and I've got to be honest. I've seen Fury pumping more weights recently. I've seen him like taking pride in his body, and I think because he lost a lot of weight, he came from like 30 stone. I think he is taking pride a bit in that, and I think he's. No matter what we say, oh, I don't care about social media, I think he does see AJ and whatnot and Wilder and probably thinks, oh, I wouldn't mind a piece of that. But I'm not, like I said, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure it is the weight. I think if he goes back up to 270, he might be just as bad. But let John Fury have his way and go back to 270 and let's see what happens. But this whole criticism about Ben Davidson, as I mentioned, I'm not. This guy, his hair's all done. His hair's literally, he must have had it straightened or done perfectly. Look at the night, even after the fight, his hair's all it's all like conditioned, really shiny and glistening. He's got his headband on. His headband's perfectly done. All the the logos are lined up. It's like, what are you doing, man? You look like a ponce, a proper ponce. Literally, he looks like a ponce. And he's all like, oh well, yes, oh, we have bad days, but you can't be having bad days against Wallin. And people say, oh, well, look at AJ and Ruiz. Come on, man. Imagine what Ruiz would have done to Fury tonight. Seriously. Imagine he'd been knocked out. That would have been it. That would have been it. Munched on the inside. Completely munched. If Wallin can't fight on the inside, and he was munching Fury on the inside. Cut him all over the place. Let's talk Turkey now. Let's be realistic with this. Ben Davis, you can't be having it against this caliber of fighter. And people forget. Andy Ruiz actually beat Joseph Parker, by the way. Let's get it right. He actually beat Joseph Parker. If you actually go by the point system, he beat Joseph Parker. That's the truth of it. He was all over Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker was running back for his life. So in reality, in terms of if Joseph Parker's a world champion, so is Andy Ruiz. That's the difference. Wallin ain't nowhere near world champion level. And so I think Fury, he's not going to do it, but he's not going to eat his pride, but he probably should go back to Peter. But like I said, I'm not even sure it's going to make a difference. In my opinion, he seems to be shot. But let's see how it plays out anyway. I just don't think, well, I'm not sure what to say now. Part of me wants to see the Fury versus Wilder just to prove a point, and part of me as a human being, as a human rights activist, yeah, as a what's the word? As a humanitarian. Listen, your boy the YB's a humanitarian. Do I really want to see Wilder splatter Fury? Not really, no. As I said, the humanitarian side of the YB don't want to see Fury be on his back and speechless and soundless. You know what I mean? I don't want to see it, but let's see how it plays out anyway.